across a hardwood floor. With our own kids in new clothes, we'll stop to visit. I'll bring some Chianti and the boy his first Red Sox hat, while his mommy's spoon beside the blue spruce. 2. Then there was the botched job on my cousin Bob. The poor guy was sliced up like an Easter ham. His eyes squeezed shut, tears ripping down his cheeks as the doctor used chopsticks to find his vas deferens. Oh, how Bob squirmed and screamed and begged for the Lord's infinite mercy, spitting our fathers as that butcher in a lab coat, a blowtorch lit, looked Bob in the eyes and said, "Ain't nothing but pain." After the operation, when the suitors were removed, Bob's wife left him for a drummer in a rock band, who appeared, at least on stage, to be far more virile. And this is the final poem I'm going to read, and then we'll turn it over to Andrew. It's called Summer Lightning. It's going to be all right, I whisper without moving my lips. Our kids are in bed between us while the thunder shrugs, wrapped in the black clouds as the sky switch is fiddled. The rain taps the window like a courteous burglar. We lie as still as sculptures of our sleeping selves, impenetrable beneath the sheet that covers our legs. Behind my eyes, my vices draw guns, sons of bitches. They've pulled the blinds, cordoned my mind, and shown havoc to you, me, and the precious lives between us, whose tiny breath is as soft as a piano's tears. Crash! Our son is startled awake. Brave boy. He throws forward his bony chest and tells us, "I'm all right," as our daughter buries herself in the nook of my arm and seeks shelter in the safety of my shoulder. Now, 34, a husband and father, I flex to protect the 3 of you from the violence of the storm. But for every roof I've built, my good intentions can't patch the holes my vices stab with shards from broken bottles. Here, in this summer storm, 6 days without a drop, I gather you and our children in my still shaking arms, then put my vices to rest, bully them to sleep, and promise my family, my loves, it's going to be all right. Thank you. Next up, we have Andrew Scott, who has a chapbook from Study Outside as well, called Modern Love. He edits an online fiction zine called Freight Stories. Alright, I'll stop there.
Ball State.
Right. What?
That's right. I was worried what I said Ball State.
Ball State.
Ball State. He teaches at Ball State.
Oh yes, he teaches at Ball State. He's incredibly handsome. Andrew Scott.
No, it's cool.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming out. Thank you Nathan for that introduction. Check is in the mail. I thought I'd read, I guess I should preface this by saying I'm not a poet. Everyone else here is a poet, and I'm not. I'm a fiction writer. I don't mean that to sound defensive. It's just the truth.
Get him!
Yeah. So I'm going to read a fairly short story. I always envy poets the freedom you have when you read. You can switch things up and flip through your book and go with the flow. And once I commit to the title and the first sentence here, I'm stuck for about 12 minutes or so. So I'll just go with it. I do not endorse vitamin water, by I just needed something there. So, can everyone hear me okay? Not too close or spitting or any of that stuff? Okay. This is a short story called Tornado Bite. Thank you. Alright. The day my life changed forever and not for better, a tornado watch loomed over us like sad clouds. Storms the previous night had scattered sycamores across state roads, pinned phone lines to the ground, molded north central Indiana into a mess. I worked for the highway department and did as my boss directed. In the past, I'd patched chuck holes with steaming tar, driven snowplows on icy hills, and it was always miserably hot in the summer, jaw-cracking cold in the winter. But what I want to tell happened in May, the only time the weather allows us comfort on the roads, even though the sky might hide us from the sun. Emily woke to the phone's shrill ring before 5 a.m. that morning and tapped the receiver on my shoulder. Her words were just sounds, but they pulled me from dreamland and I answered. Parker, a notch above me in seniority, told me to get dressed and come in. I said I'd be there soon and gave the phone back to my wife. She poked the off button hard and flipped the phone across the room. Let me guess, she said. Parker always called me since the crew used a phone tree. Each man called the next guy down. I had no complaints about Parker. He'd been a good co-worker and a friend when I needed one. Emily knew him as the unwelcome voice at ungodly hours. She tucked the sheets over her head and turned on her side. They need you, she said. Get moving. She could deal with the early morning phone calls, and she reckoned with the fact that sometimes I just couldn't be at home when she needed me. But that morning we planned to visit the St. Vincent's in Indianapolis, where our daughter, Nicole, only 8 years old then, could be evaluated. We'd driven her to Indianapolis for 5 months, every 4 weeks, so that the best staff in the state could check her progress against our local doctor's rehabilitation schedule. On Christmas Day, our daughter was building a snowman in our front yard. Emily's parents and sister were over, and we'd already eaten and opened presents when we heard a loud engine and then Nicole's scream. Of course, the road I lived on wasn't plowed yet, I'd later think. Of course, a teenager in the neighborhood was going too fast and lost control and shattered my little girl's legs. I know we said things, waiting for the ambulance. We were hysterical, sure, but we tried to tell her it would be all right, that help was on the way. It could have been worse, I know. I don't remember the exact words, but we lied to ourselves and to Nicole. Emily and I both thought our baby girl would die. But the doctors worked their magic and said she would live. Then the question was if she would walk again. And by March, she was walking, though her recovery was slow. And then she began a heavy rehab and showed real improvement. Which brought us to early May and what would be Nicole's last visit to St. Vincent if she checked out okay. Children healed. No doctor ever told us that unlike many married couples dealing with trauma, Emily and I would not grow closer and would instead move apart, like a tree split down the middle by lightning. What's to say? She got short with me. I'm out.